Roses are red, quarantine's got me blue. I'm stuck here at home, and you should be too. So come celebrate with me in the pandemic way, and learn the strange history of Valentine's Day. That's right, weary travelers of the internet. It's Valentine's Day, and I invite you to come pull up to the Green Dream City and come celebrate. Stay a while. Have a drink. Maybe like and subscribe as a Valentine's gift to old Mugsy Dee. Because I'm going to share with you a very twisted tale. It's a story of love. It's a story of death. It's a story of chocolate. And if you stick around till the end, I'm going to share a little romantic secret with you that's sure to win your lover's heart. Of course we know Valentine's Day on its surface. It's a holiday of romantic love, a time to declare your affections, to give a massage, to eat by candlelight, pig out on chocolate, make bitter social media posts if you're feeling angry and single. But what's the deeper story here? Disparaged by some as a Hallmark holiday cash grab, and by others as a vestige of wild pagan rites, the story's a little murky at best, but I'm going to try to clear things up. I'll start with the history of Valentine's Day as we know it, and then dig a little deeper into some more ancient past. So it was established in 496 AD by Pope Gelasius as the feast day of the martyr Saint Valentine. Interestingly, however, this was removed from the official Catholic calendar in 1969 due to a lack of historical information about the saint. Well, to begin with, there are 3 Saint Valentine, but we're fairly sure the namesake of the holiday is Saint Valentine of Rome, a 3rd century clergyman who was proselytizing to the Christians and was imprisoned and ultimately killed for it. Legend goes he was in his jail cell and he attracted the attention of the young daughter of his jailer named Julia, and she was a young blind woman. The day before he was martyred, he reached between the bars of his cell, touched her eyes, and cured her of her blindness. However, he was still martyred February 14th, and thus was born his feast day. One of the reasons that we lack information about Saint Valentine is due to the 4th century Diocletian persecution of Christians. As mentioned, not a good time to be Christian. This was a time when pagans in power would persecute people who believed in Jesus and try to force them to practice their rites. Now, as we know, as history goes, eventually the roles swapped. But here we have it, the destruction of Christian records. It wasn't until the 13th century that Valentine's Day became associated with romantic love. Inspired by the very popular literary concept of courtly love, which takes romance and gives it a chivalrous and noble taste. The holiday began to accumulate all kinds of embellishments and lore at this time. For example, Julia was no longer just a young woman, but she was now suddenly St. Valentine's lover, and they would exchange letters as courtly lovers are wont to do. And this is where we get our phrase, "your Valentine," which is apparently how the saint would sign his letters. Other additions to the story include that it wasn't just for proselytizing Christianity that St. Valentine was imprisoned, but actually for committing the crime of forbidden marriages of soldiers. Modern historians discount this embellishment to the story because it was well known that the Emperor Claudius II, who was the one who had St. Valentine martyred, would encourage his soldiers to get married, to take multiple wives in fact. But these pieces of the story stuck. Another big reason that the holiday took on a romantic connotation is because of the poet Chaucer, who wrote a poem about Valentine's Day in a Parliament to Birds, where he connected this time of year, mid-February, with the mating rituals of the birds, and hence we get the phrase lovebirds. It's not until the 1800s that technology has enabled this mass production of sentimental cards, relieving generations of tongue-tied lovers at a loss for words to express their amorous sentiments. Throw in the mix Richard Cadbury of the British Cadbury chocolate family, creating the eating chocolates, which were a byproduct of the cocoa that he was producing, and his marketing genius to put it in a heart-shaped box, which both doubles as a chocolate container and as a place to store your valentines and locks of hair and other trinkets of love. You got your Valentine's cards and your chocolates, and thus the Valentine's Day industrial complex is born. Now, what of the alleged connections to older pagan traditions? As you may know, many of our secular holidays are commercialized versions of Christian holidays, which in their turn, shall we say, borrowed certain pagan customs? I think it's worth here defining pagan. Originally, this was a term that was essentially a Christian slur, meaning backcountry. Christianity was first established in the cities, and so the people who were still practicing the old folk traditions were seen as basically hicks. The term pagan has been reclaimed and is now basically an umbrella term for the earth-based, polytheistic, pre-Christian traditions of Europe. And that covers a lot of different practices. Similar to the way our understanding of Valentine's Day was embellished and changed over time, our understanding of its connection to older traditions is also obscure and has evolved. The main ancient tradition that it's connected to is Lupercalia, an ancient Roman custom. And this connection is controversial. I will merely present to you the information and let you decide for yourself whether you think there's any origin story here. So Lupercalia. It is a custom that is celebrating the founding of Rome that took place between February 13th and 15th in the Lupercal cave. And it was a rite where a goat and a dog were sacrificed. The blood from the animal was placed on the forehead of two handsome Luperci priests and then wiped off with wool dipped in milk, upon which these young men would heartily laugh. I want to stop here and say that this tradition is considered to possibly have connections to older Greco rites of shepherds, and we can see this influence of an agrarian society. Story that they're celebrating here is of Romulus and Remus, the twin founders of Rome, who were suckled by a she-wolf named Lupa under the auspices of the wolf god Lupercus, who is sometimes associated with the Greco god Pan. So we see a holiday that is celebrating not just the founding of Rome, but the animals that have enabled this lifestyle. And this is also where it gets kind of spicy. So after you have the blood on the forehead, the wiping with the milk, and the laughing, you have a big feast, lots of wine, lots of meat, and then these young Luperci priests don these bloody animal skins and go running through the hills, whipping the ground and young women with these strips of bloodied fur called februa. And it's largely accepted that this was a fertility rite. The young noble maidens would present themselves to be whipped in the idea that this would increase their fertility. Now, I mentioned that there have been some embellishments to the history, and that's true. If you look up some stories about the history of Valentine's Day, they'll tell you that Lupercalia was a time when Men and women would draw a name of a lover from an urn and try out a courtship for a year. Now that is something that people would do in Rome, but it's not necessarily associated with Lupercalia. It's a little bit of a stretch. The tradition did continue after the Christianization of Rome, where it was stated by old Pope Galatius that it was only the vile rabble who still celebrated Lupercalia in the 6th century. But you know there's still some reconstructionists out there whipping each other with bloodied animal skins, although animal sacrifice has largely gone out of vogue. So that's Lupercalia in a nutshell. I'll let you decide if you think that these fertility rituals in any way inspired the Valentine's Day as we know it. So there you have it, the history of Valentine's Day. I think it says a lot about how our modern holidays have evolved. You have an origin story here, an embellishment there, an inspiration from nature, the seasons, people we look up to. At the end of the day, Valentine's Day is about love, and that's obviously worth celebrating. I definitely understand how some people feel lonely. If you're single at this time and all the corporations are just rubbing it in your face. However, love takes many forms. I always appreciated growing up how my dad made me feel really special on Valentine's Day. He would always make sure he got me a card and we would eat dinner in front of the fireplace. I have really fond memories, and I've been known to give Valentines to my friends. I think it's important to express our love to those we care about. Which leads me to what I promised you, which is my secret romantic trick to win the heart of those you love. Get yourself a little bouquet. We got 2 bouquets here, both purchased from the supermarket. I'm going to show you how to arrange it and take it to the next level by learning the meaning of the flowers. It's not just roses that have deeper meaning. For as long as humans have been working with plants, we have put our own cultural meanings onto them. And this was codified in the Victorian language of flowers. Back in the day, instead of coming out and saying, "I love you," and "I think you're beautiful," and "I have a secret crush on you," a gentleman might give a bouquet of roses and other flowers that suggested those ideas. This is something I like to do. I like to give flowers and put little hidden meanings in there based off of what the associations are. So get yourself a bouquet, arrange it nicely, and give it to the people you care about. And if you want to make it even more special, tell them what the flowers represent to you in terms of your relationship. And if you want to make it really special, put it in the form of a poem. To trim my flowers, I'm using a pair of hand pruners. And I'm going to start by simply arranging the different types into piles so I can see what I'm working with. Obviously, we know the red roses mean romantic love. And we can thank a Greco-Roman past for that one, because red roses are connected to the goddess Aphrodite of love and beauty and sensuality. Next, I'm going to start filling my vase with my filler flowers. This is limonium, symbolic of beauty and memories. Next, of course, comes the ubiquitous flower baby's breath, which is symbolic of purity and innocence. Before adding in each rose, I strip it of some of its leaves. Red rose of my heart, my passion is true. Ammonium beauty reminds me of you. Baby breath sweet, like your cherubic way. I cherish you, love. Happy Valentine's Day. Yellow roses symbolize love of friendship. Blue globe thistle, protection and the overcoming of hardship.
And again, we have the filler Baby's Breath, which adds to this bouquet a reminder of childhood memories and friendship, a touch of sweetness. It's also symbolic of trust, a perfect addition to a bouquet for a friend. I'm arranging this bouquet using a different method than the red rose one. Instead of placing the flowers directly into the vase, I am holding them in my hands. Roses of yellow, like our friendship, they shine. A bond so well suited, it must be divine. Tough and tested, protected, and globe thistles the sign. It's a powerful thing when our forces combine. And through it all together, from the breath to the gust, I treasure you forever, perfect love and perfect trust. Which is why today I took the time to say thank you always, and happy Valentine's Day.
This is Mugsy Dee 2021 pandemic. All dressed up, and nowhere to go. Excited to share this history with you. Thanks for coming along on this journey. I hope everybody is safe and cuddled up. I certainly know I'm gonna pet my cat and share the love of my friends. I share my love of the holidays with you. Happy Valentine's Day. And if you're feeling saucy, happy Lupercalia.